Hey everybody, this is John and Josh from Star EV Tech Support, and today we're going to go over our newly updated Star Sirius brake adjustment procedure, and it's for the one that has manual brakes. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the video, and I'm going to have Josh go down through the TSB so that we're able to give you a step-by-step process of performing it. That way you get a kind of more accurate gauge of the time that's involved to do it. So I'm not going to stop him from doing the work. I'm just going to kind of call your attention to particular points if it needs more attention, and then that allows him to just keep on going. So what I'm going to do is try to limit the editing of the video to the part in front of and the part after the actual procedure. So that way I'm going to try and not to cut the part where we're actually doing the work, so it doesn't give you, you don't know how much time has passed in between there. So that's what we're going to do. So it may be a little bit different than our normal editing style, because we're not going to make those cuts. We're just going to kind of walk you through it. So before we get started, we kind of laid out the tools that you're going to need. One of them is 120 grit sandpaper. We have a brake drum mic. This is a dog bone adapter. It is a 17 millimeter. You'll use that with a ratchet, a thin flathead screwdriver, 14 millimeter wrench. Here we have BG stop squeal with a brush to put it on. This is a brand Worth, and it is a brake lubricant that we use. This is a high temp grease that we're going to use to put behind the brake shoes, and a pry bar is going to be helpful. Another thing that you may need is a flashlight or a work light, but that's what you're going to need to do the whole process. What we're going to do here is we'll show you, this is the TSB that we're working on today. It is the 1109.02. that is for a Sirius with manual brakes. And we wanted to point out right here this measurement in the equalizer. So we'll show you where that's located, and it's supposed to be approximately 2.5 inches in between there. So guys, we ran out of time yesterday for recording in one complete stretch, so we came back today, and that's what we're going to do. That way we're not cutting it in between, and you'll be able to see the whole process start to finish. All right guys, so here we are starting, and we're going to start up here checking the equalizer. This is where we're looking for that 2.5 inch gap, and that is between the back of this and the front of this right here. We want this to make sure that this is straight across, and this is where you would use the 17 and 14. As the 14 is for the jam nut. Then Josh is just going to make sure that both of the cables are free to move, not under any tension. We're going to look at these pins right here, making sure that they're able to move freely. That's good. And then inspecting the boots to make sure that they're not applying any pressure pushing on that lever. We don't want that. So everything looks good there. Now we're going to move to taking the wheels off. So right here, we're going to make sure that these shoes are gray, and then we're going to lubricate these slides right here where this Teflon piece is. Making sure that the shoe assembly is able to pivot back and forth. We'll do that on both sides. Okay. Then we're going to inspect the drum, making sure that there's no hot spots or pitting. So looking inside the drum on this surface, we're making sure that it should all look like this. From there, we're going to grab the pry bar and we're going to use a little bit of high temp grease. Let me show you the grease right here. This is a high temp grease that we're going to use to put on the little pads that are behind the shoes. So all it takes is a little bit. Let's see if we can pop that lid off of there. And what we're going to do is when we pry out, you'll notice that there's a pad here, one here, but the closest one is down here. So the best place to pry is right here, about in that lower third of the shoe. So you're just going to use a small tool to put the grease on that pad. And as the shoe moves, it will distribute that grease, you know, across the little land that's back there. So if you get any grease on the actual gray shoe material, what we're going to do is, as we're doing this, we're doing that before we sand the shoe down. That way, if there's any grease that should get on the brake shoe material, we're going to sand it off in the next step. So we're just gonna rinse and repeat for the other side. So while Josh is doing the other side, this is what I'm talking about. If you see right there, that little tiny spot of grease, we're going to take care of that once we hit it with the sandpaper. Okay, so here's our sandpaper. That's 120 grit, and we'll show you how we're getting in there to sand it down. Mainly what you're looking to do is get rid of the glazing. So not really, you know, it's not really intended to make it like a work of art or anything. It's just mainly smoothing it out and getting rid of the glazed spots. So showing this is kind of what you were looking for, is just a homogeneous, you know, even, smooth look to the shoe. Even with significant glazing, it doesn't take much with the sandpaper. It don't really take very long. Okay, so now it's time to apply the BG stop squeal, and here we have our brush and gloves. We kind of recommend that you wear gloves just in case you get it on your fingers, but the main thing that you don't want to do is get it on the body of the vehicle. This stuff is very hard to come off paint, so you would just apply it to the shoes and try to keep it from touching anything that you want to keep clean. Takes roughly 4 minutes for the BG to dry if you put a fan blowing on the shoes. If we brought a fan over, you would see it would dry up way faster than even the 4 minutes. Just hit it right there, that little spot right here. So now we're just gonna proceed to this side here, doing the same thing. So guys, as you can see, it's not taking barely any time at all to do the whole thing. We're almost done and almost ready to put the shoes back on once this is dry, so you can see that it doesn't take a whole long time at all. Zooming in on this side, you can see it's already dry here. This side, just to show you, see where you can see a line where it's still a little bit damp right here, but dry up there. So within a couple more minutes, it'll be done here.
And the more you put on your brush over time, as you're putting it on from side to side, it does spread easier on the brush. Once it's soaked into the brush, it seems to release it better onto the pad. So, you know, the other side didn't take nearly as long to put it on there as it did this side. Once the brush is moist, it just keeps going.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so now all we're gonna do is we're going to use our brake drum mic to measure the shoes, or the drums, sorry, and make sure that they are not out of round or anything crazy like that. And so for the most part, we're done with this section. Now we're just going to look at this section. So we're just checking these. It don't take very long. We're looking to make sure that the drums are not more than 2/1000 out of round. Usually what we do is we do it at 90 degrees. So you would just measure it in one spot, turn 90 degrees. So this drum right here is showing 11 thousandths difference. So we want to replace that drum. And that's 8 thousandths, so we would replace this drum. But that shows you how quick and easy it is to do this whole procedure in the TSB. And we haven't cut the video, that way you can see exactly how long it took us. And that is with taking our time and going through it, demonstrating what it should look like. So for you, especially if you got used to doing a couple of these a day, it would take you like no time at all. So
these are both dry now.
Both sides are dry, so we are able to put our drums on. When we go get 2 new ones, we'll be able to throw those on and adjust them up and be good to go. So there you have it, guys. We did this demonstration just to show that you don't have to take the shoes off the vehicle to be able to do this TSB. You are able to perform this just as it is. You can keep the shoes on and just do the whole thing. Doesn't take very long at all. We're planning on doing this type of content more on the channel. So if you really want to become the best at your craft, consider subscribing. We'd love to have you be a subscriber and continue to get updated on new procedures, new ways to help you do your job easier. And remember, guys, each video is just the beginning of a conversation. Down in the comments, we can keep that discussion going. You can ask questions and just give us feedback on things that you want to see, things that we've left out, questions that you might have. We're here to help, and we will answer those questions as they come in. So right now, thanks for watching. We'll let you guys get back to work.